Hi, so in this video we are going to now take our vase that we took the image of before, and this time we're going to create this sort of Stewie looking character, Stewie from Family Guy, that is, character that's going to build on the effects we used in the first two lessons and some additional. So I'm going to hide these layers now, and I'm going to bring back this one I created and locked earlier. I'm going to unlock that, and I'm going to duplicate it again, and then I'm going to lock it again and hide it. And call me paranoid, but you can never have too many copies of your background or your raw image, because once you lose it, you'll never get it back. So always please be doing that, and obviously always be saving your work. So let's call this tutorial. Okay, so in this image, in this video, we're going to, as I say, we're going to restructure the head, and we're going to use some of the tools we used in the last session. So it's going to involve, again, resizing and reshaping some of our key features. And rather than use the filter tool or liquify effects this time, we're going to start to plan out where and how we're going to make this. So just for your knowledge, I'm going to try and follow the flows of the face, okay? So our muscles and the movement of our muscles around our eyes sort of follow around this figure of 8 that just travels all the way around, almost like a superhero pair of goggles. We have muscles that follow our face down here and build down. We have bigger muscles that follow around the edge of the face and come all the way down here and underneath. And we also have obviously the one for our inners of our eyes. And as we go through the animation course and build up over the years, you're going to learn these muscles much more so. And obviously we have our inner of our mouth. But for now, we're going to focus solely on drawing where we're going to sort of draw around with our eye. So I'm going to first of all focus on this eye, and I'm going to pull this one out from around this area. And then I'm going to pull this one out from around here and make this one bigger, and I'm going to follow the natural flows that I can see on the image. Secondly, I'm going to draw around the nose. I'm going to go right around that shadow around there, and probably go up here a little bit more. And then I'm going to draw around the lower chin of the face, and I'm going to restructure, and the ear as well. So I'm going to draw around that. So I'm going to just delete this old layer before from the muscles, and I'm just going to keep that there. I'm going to hide it, but just so you're aware it's there. Now when you're cutting, it's going to get really confusing, because we're going to copy layers and make new layers and try to draw again. Your organisation of your layers and the management of your layers is absolutely crucial at this point. Okay, so I'm going to select the Polygonal lasso tool that we used last time, and same sort of way again, we're going to do clicks, but this time rather than big clicks like we did before, when we was doing the comic book panels, we're going to do smaller panels. Okay, so on your image that you are using, can you work out those edge flows, and once you are ready, you can start to draw around this face, and we're just going to do regular intervals. It doesn't matter if they're perfect or not, because we're going to start blending these in a while. And we've got the marching ants, as you can see now, and with this I'm going to make sure my layer is selected. I'm going to push Control or Command C, and Control or Command, if you're using Mac, V. Okay, so that's Command or Control C, or Command C if you're using Mac, and Control or Command V. Now what's happened is, it looks like not a lot if I turn this on and off, but essentially we've copied that layer. Okay, and with this image still there, I'm going to push Control T if you're using Mac, Command T, and with that I'm going to scale up this eye by about 150. So I'm on 160, as you can see up here. So I'm going to change that to 50. Oh, let's undo that because it warped. So when I'm scaling this, I'm holding Shift. Okay, and the reason for that is if I don't hold Shift, it's going to warp. But as soon as I push Shift again, you can see that it's taking it back to an equal scale. Okay, so we're about 150 around there, and once you are happy with it, push Enter. And then with the Move tool, I'm just going to reposition this around here. Okay, now I'm going to call this layer right eye. and I'm going to hide it. And we're going to go back to our background layer because we want to copy off this layer. If I try to copy off this layer now and I'll just draw around here, it's not going to copy anything because it's empty. Okay, so it's empty if I draw around the eye there. So I have to make sure my background layer is selected again, and this time I'm just going to draw around this flow again like I did in the last one. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit further up just so we have some material there to copy and warp around. And I'm going to go on the inside of this eye, follow that ring around straight up to there. And same as before, I'm going to push Control or Command C, Control or Command V, and again if I push Control or Command T, which is the free transform tool, okay, I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to scale this up to about 150 again, okay, around here. I'm going to push Enter, and I'm going to pull this down back in. Okay, it's already starting to look a little freaky, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to call this left eye. Okay, so I'm now going to very quickly hide these two, and this time I'm going to draw around the nose. Now this time I don't want to leave loads of space too much at the side of the nose, so I'm going to basically start here, and I'm just going to draw around and follow this line around, and just gonna build that in around there. Now once that's in, I'm going to go back to my background layer because I'll try to copy, it won't copy anything. If I do Control C, Control V, it's just going to bring the eye up again because there's nothing to copy. So if I go back to my background layer, push Control C or Command C and Control V or Command V, and if I turn my eyes back on and push Control T, which will bring up free transform, you will see that I can start to rescale that. And I'm going to rescale my nose a lot smaller than it was before, and just place it in there. And then I'm going to push Enter, and we can pull this above the eyes so it sort of sits on top, and we can call this nose. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take around my chin. I'm going to sit that just underneath the nose. So again, I'm going to get my Polygonal lasso tool, and this time I'm just going to draw around these, around this area, and I'm just going to click at regular intervals. If you double click, it will try and scoop it up like that, so if you can just be careful with that. So my Mac has just finished installing an update. If you heard that and wondering what the hell's going on, and we're just going to kiss the tip of that nose, and we'll go Control Command C, Control or Command V, and as you can see it's empty, so it can't copy it because we're still on the nose. So if we go back to our background copy, Control or Command C, Control or Command V, and I'm going to push Control T again, and we're going to scale it down, and we're going to place this just underneath the nose. Okay, I'm just want to make that quite small. Okay, and if you use the arrow keys, you can work on your placement of that layer. Okay, I'm going to put that right there. So the last piece of this puzzle, actually no, it's not the last piece because we're going to add actually a few more pieces in. We're going to call this chin or mouth, whichever, just as long as you know what it is. Back to my background layer, and this time I'm going to draw around this ear. And it doesn't matter, just a little bit on the outside. And again, Control Command C, Control Command V. I'm sure you're tired of me saying that now, but the more I say it, the more you're likely to remember it. I'm going to rename this ear, and this time I'm going to hide my background layer. I'm going to select my ear, Control T. I'm going to scale it down, and I'm going to pull it to around here. And this time I'm going to rotate it around. Okay. Rotate it around to about there, and we do that by just going to the edge. Okay, and we'll push Enter, and now it's repositioned it. The last thing we're going to do is we obviously want to be able to paint around in these areas, which means we're going to need solid bits to reference from. So I'm going to take a bit chunk of my forehead, and before I do that I'm going to put these into a folder. So I'm going to select the bottom one of the pile, hold shift, select the top one, and it will put them together. Click the folder icon at the bottom here and it will place them all into a folder. I'm just going to hide them. Okay, I'm going to rename that as mini face 1. And what I'm going to do this time is just draw around the forehead slightly, just so I actually have some content to draw and reference from in the selection. I'm going to push Control on the background layer select, then do the copy and paste, which is the C and V, and I'm going to call this forehead. I'm going to drag it into this folder, and I'm going to hide my background image and turn this back on. Now my forehead image I'm just going to bring up here slightly, and what we're going to do is start to clone and paint these together. So the first thing I'm going to do is select my right eye and my left eye. So I'm going to select one, hold shift, select the other. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to merge layers. It's going to combine both of these elements together. Okay. So with these selected, you can see because they're below the order of these in this hierarchy, they appear underneath those images. Okay. So let's just bring those back together. Let's merge them. And what we're going to do is you go to the clone stamp tool. So this icon here will allow you to draw from this image. So if I push Alt, you can see that this little picker comes up. So whenever I do this, it will drop an anchor and it will start to paint. So if I hold Alt, left mouse button click, it will start to paint across from there. So if I click here, it will replicate. So if I draw along here, it will replicate whatever's going along there. And so let me just show you how that works. So if I start doing that, you'll see that it started to bring in that hard line, this hard line here, as it goes going across. And if I start to paint up, it'll start to recreate the whole face there. And we don't want to recreate the whole face, so we have to go back and push Alt again on some other areas, perhaps, and start to paint those in. Okay. And you'll see, you know, it starts to get a little weird, a little bit repetitive. Sometimes the skin tones don't match up, especially if you've got like a strong shadow. And if I go up and down, obviously there's not much to go down from, so if I go down I'm going to run out of face very quickly. So you kind of just have to be careful there. Okay, so I'm going to just start to paint more of this in, and what's going to happen is eventually we're going to just start to cover up all of this skin. So let's just go back there, which is really useful. And probably just want to draw across over that. There we go. Just hide those blemishes. And again, now we have some bits in, we can start to really have this solid sort of colour going across. We can really start to bridge that up. Okay, so we're just gonna start to build that in. This is just Alt, and so if I put this here, I'll be able to connect up this point. Okay, and again, just going to draw in this face and connect it, and as you can see, that facial structure is now starting to appear. Okay, which is exactly what we want. We want it to start to connect up and look part of it. I'm not saying these skin tones are great, I'm not saying this design is amazing or anything like that, but what it's allowing us to do is get that structure involved, get that get those features in, and obviously with the head we can start to actually paint more of the head across once we get to that bit. Okay, so we just have to be a bit careful there. And so we can see we can start to get that in, and then what we're going to do is take the smudge tool. So in this menu set here we've got smudge, and this one it's just basically smudges things up, which smoothens it out, which blends colours together, which means that they don't look completely alien next to each other. And as we add other features in, this will look a lot better. So that's why if I'll just start to bring that out. What we're going to do now is just bring in this forehead piece, and I'm going to start to blend these bits together. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to right click and go merge layers, which will put it all onto the forehead. And if I bring it down underneath these, you can see that hierarchy changes again. And this time I'm going to take the smudge tool and I'm going to start bringing this down, and as you can see it's starting to blend that in. So if I create a smaller brush, I'll be able to start to bridge them together, okay, and paint them out. Obviously just start to link up those sections of the head, okay, and build them together. And again I'm also going to do the same this side, so I'm going to keep pulling this across. So the strength is only on 17, so for this bit, because I need to go, let's go a lot further, I'm going to pull that strength up, okay. So you can see now that's really following, and that's probably a bit too much. So now as you can see we're starting to get a bit messy again now, so now that's gone across, I'm going to go back down to about 20 and just start to build that back in. And obviously once it starts getting a bit erratic, we can go back to the clone tool, clone stamp tool, and just start to paint some bits back in, okay. And obviously we can blend these back in later on if we need to, which I think we're going to have to. And you can see those features are starting to add together. So obviously I want to cut this out later on, so for now it's okay. So the next stage is to start to add all of these into the image, and we're going to merge them together. And at this point I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to take the smudge tool and we're just going to start to bring them all in bit by bit, okay. So again I'm just going to smudge very softly over these areas as well, just to smoothen them, to blend them in with the other parts of the face. Same around here as well, and that smoothing process will just make all of this feel part of the image, okay. So again, I'm just going to bring that up, blend that in. Bring that up, and let's bring some of these in as well. Let's keep them consistent, and again I'm just going to make this bigger, just go over the eyes. Let's pull them in little directions here and there. It just brings that little bit of smoothness into it. Commands, obviously Control Z if you ever need to undo, as with most things. And then we're just going to bring this down, make it give it a little bit more thickness. As well, just bringing these out, and we're almost ready now. So again, let's undo that. We now have all of this mini face put together, and I'm going to let's call this mini face, and I'm going to duplicate that layer. And what I'm going to do with the Polygonal lasso tool is now just cut around very softly around the head of the character, Okay, and this won't be perfectly round, so just bear that in mind. But what I want to do is get just a crisp outline of the character, so it's not all blurred as it currently is. And obviously it allows you to just add some other little bits of definition within there. So there we go. Alright. So if I erase this selection at the moment, obviously it's going to take away from the head. So I need to inverse that selection. So we go to select and inverse. And then we can just draw around the outside and it will erase all those parts away. Oh, and then once we have that, we're going to posterize this background. Now obviously in this image I've gone away and I've found an image of someone wearing dungarees online, and I've stretched it out, and then I've added this posterize effect to it as well. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you that cutout. There's that cutout there, and I found that image, and then I've warped it slightly and then added it in. Okay, so this is one that I've made earlier. Obviously on this one I haven't reshaped the eyes, so I'm going to show you. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go and reshape the eyes so you can see how all of these methods work together. So I'm going to go to liquify, and I'm going to go into the eyes, make my brush a bit smaller, and I'm going to make, in fact let's just go back a couple of steps. This has made that eye bigger. Okay, and the same sort of thing over here. Just going to keep playing with that so I'll get it to the same sort of shape. And I'm just going to pull the inside of this eye around a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to pull this side down a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to click OK, and obviously imagine I've added the body in, I've found the line, and then what we're going to do is go to filter, and we're going to add these effects on from the filter gallery, and I'm going to go with cutout again. So the two effects that I used before, watercolor and cutout, there. If we just zoom out a little bit from there, but that's what I'm going to roll with, and that's now my sort of character's head. Okay, so obviously what I would do normally is duplicate this layer again and duplicate the one before I did the eyes, just so I can go back if I want to. And very quickly I've got a really cool character head, and yeah, you can add the body, you could do your environments, the list is endless. So if you're not so confident about wanting to draw all of your panels within your comic, you could use these photo manipulation techniques that we've covered in the last 2 lessons. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your versions of these on the blog, so can we make sure that we're still doing that and keeping up to date with that. Other than that, I will see you in the next